All right. Let me know when I'm good to. Oh, let me adjust this.
Let's see, we're doing Battlefield Earth, right?
Exactly.
I feel like at some point we might do that, and
Gonna have to.
you'll probably kill me afterwards.
Hello, and welcome back to more Films That Are Constant Critique, where we take a look at films. Some good, some bad, some downright awful. I'm Bongo Baikov, joined by our host Maverick, Dren, Zaria. This week, we're taking a look at the 1990 sequel, RoboCop 2.
I'm having trouble. It's funny, because after all doing a bunch of shitty sequels in a row, I was actually looking forward to watching this one again. And maybe is that why we decided to do that, just so I would be excited to watch RoboCop 2 again?
Yeah, it gives us just a little bit of a rest from the streak that we've been on.
I mean, this movie's not, amazing, but, compared to Hollow Man 2, this is Citizen Kane.
It's a masterpiece, exactly.
RoboCop 2 was released June 22nd, 1990. It cost somewhere between 25 or 30 million, which means it was twice as expensive as the first movie. And it made about 45.7 million in the US. I couldn't find worldwide numbers. One thing that's interesting, one of the ways they promoted the movie was they had RoboCop show up during a WCW match.
Is that what that's from?
Have you heard about this?
I've seen the clips of that. I didn't know that's what it was from.
Peter Weller as RoboCop showed up and he rescued Sting from the Four Horsemen. This happened a month before the movie came out. And I think they promoted a Chucky movie as well, on WCW, but it wasn't quite as ridiculous as this was.
As RoboCop showing up, yeah.
So, RoboCop 2 was not directed by Paul Verhoeven. He was busy making Total Recall. Fair enough.
Okay.
Instead, it was directed by Irvin Kershner, who directed The Empire Strikes Back. So he knows a little something about sequels, I would say. And he also directed...
Never Say Never Again.
Yes, the weird off-brand Bond movie that was a remake of Thunderball.
And I think we should also point out, he made these three movies back to back. It went Empire, Never Say Never Again, and then RoboCop 2. Which is just the strangest stretch of movies you could work on as a director, I think.
To be fair, there is a big gap between Never Say Never Again and this. Yeah. RoboCop 2. And you look at before what he was doing before that, it's a bunch of independent films mostly.
Yeah.
And maybe I guess he did a few movies in the 70s with Barbara Streisand and George Segal. Return of a Man Called Horse. Eyes of Laura Mars, which had Faye Dunaway and Tommy Lee Jones in it. But anyway, and the reason he got the job for Empire Strikes Back is because he was George Lucas's one of his film professors.
Oh, really? Huh.
And this RoboCop 2 was the last movie he directed.
What a film to end your career on.
And it's from whatever I've read, this sounds like it was a director for hire thing. I feel like most of his movies were director for hire things. He was busy teaching, and then they're like, hey, make a movie for us. Okay.
And he's like, okay, sure, why not? I could use the extra money.
I might have read this wrong, but I think he was hired like a week before shooting started.
Oh, that's cutting it close.
I've watched and read some about the making of, and it sounds like the production on this was a mess. So, the cast. We have a few people from the first one. We got Peter Weller, you know, RoboCop himself, Murphy.
Yep.
Nancy Allen, Lewis. Dan O'Hurley played the old man. And he's also in Halloween 3.
Yep.
The guy that played Reed came back, and the guy that played Johnson came back. Robert Doquai.
Yeah, Doquai, something like that.
And Felton Perry. He played Johnson. Oh, and the reporters from the same reporters from the first movie are in this. And apparently they were reporters in real life. I didn't realize that until reading a bit recently, which is probably why they're so convincing in their roles. Some new cast members. We have Tom Noonan, which he gets typecast as villains a lot.
Yeah.
Including in Manhunter. Do you know anything about Manhunter?
I know that's like an adaptation of the I've heard the name of it, but the book that comes before Silence of the Lambs.
Red Dragon.
Yeah.
So it was the first Hannibal Lecter movie.
Yeah.
He doesn't play Hannibal Lecter, he plays the other killer in it, okay. But I can't remember his name. The Tooth Fairy, I think. And he's really creepy in that movie. Manhunter's a really good movie. You should see it, actually.
I've been meaning to watch it.
It's really good. I don't know if you've seen any Michael Mann movies or not, but if you like Michael Mann, Heat. He directed Heat. Tom Noonan was also in Last Action Hero. Plays one of the main villains in that. He plays a Frankenstein's monster in The Monster Squad. So he gets cast a lot as like tall, threatening dudes.
That makes sense. It looks like he was also in an episode of The X-Files.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Which episode, though?
I don't know. Paper Hearts. I don't know if I remembered this one.
I don't know if I've seen it. What season was that?
Season 4.
I didn't make it that far. John Glover is in this. Or Glover, anyway. But we've had him a few times, because he's,
Yep, we had him in Gremlins 2.
As Daniel Clamp. He's in The Mouth of Madness.
Yep.
Batman and Robin. And he's also the Riddler in the Batman animated series. The kid that played Hob was Littlefoot.
You're forgetting one very important credit for John Glover.
Don't mention the fucking chocolate war again, for fuck's sake. Is that what you were gonna mention?
Yeah, of course.
I hate that book so much. I think I said this before, but at least the movie had a good soundtrack. There's that. And they never made Beyond the Chocolate War into a movie, at the least.
Good.
Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. The kid that played Hob was Littlefoot in The Land Before Time.
Oh.
That's really weird to think about, considering his character in this movie.
Yeah.
The actress from the sunblock commercial, she played Alata Vagina in Austin Powers.
Of course. Of course.
I can't say that name with a straight face. Frank Miller has a cameo. Which, he's the guy that looks a bit like John Lennon. That gives Kane the blue velvet. Another thing that makes him easy to spot in this movie, his character's name is Frank in the movies. So.
Yeah.
Did you know that was him when you watched the...
Yeah, I was like, huh, nice. They just use his name.
He looks really different now than he did at this point.
Yeah.
There's this actor in this named Thomas Rosales Jr., and he seems to just pop up in like every 90s action movie.
Yeah.
We've had him on the podcast 5 times, apparently.
In what?
The Running Man, this, Escape from LA, Con Air, and Face Off.
Wow, that's busy.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just looking at his other movies. He's been in Speed, The Lost World, Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's probably the thing I recognize him from. He's the guy that accidentally leaves Peter Stormare to die in that movie.
Nice.
Because he doesn't hear him screaming. The guy that played the Thing in the Roger Corman Fantastic Four is in this, apparently.
Oh. Huh.
And Kane's girlfriend in this was in Twin Peaks. I don't know if you noticed that or not. I think she's in season 2 of Twin Peaks, I think.
Oh, okay. So she was in the she was part of One-Eyed Jacks. She was working with Jean Reno. Okay.
Oh, there's a picture of her with Michael Parks. Apparently. One-Eyed Jacks, which is a reference to a Marlon Brando movie. It was the only movie he directed, in fact.
Really?
It was a Western. So, we mentioned him earlier, but Frank Miller was one of the screenwriters. And he has a cameo. Although most of what he wrote is not in the finished film because it was deemed unfilmable, so they had it rewritten by the guy that wrote The Wild Bunch. Miller ended up adapting his script into a comic, and it is one of the worst things I have ever read. It is awful.
So you're saying it's probably a good thing that they changed it.
Yes. Terrible artwork. Especially on the female characters. My God. Like, I know Frank Miller gets criticized for that a lot, but here it's like, Jesus, dude. It just felt like it was trying too hard to be, like, edgy without any nuance or humanity or satire. So it would have made a terrible RoboCop movie. Although it's not as bad as Holy Terror, but few things are. And you know what? After reading that comic, I appreciate this movie a little bit more because based off that comic, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, the music was not done by Basil Polidorus, which is disappointing. Instead, it was Leonard Rosenman, and he did the music for the Stanley Kubrick film Barry Lyndon.
Huh.
Yeah, that's obviously... you watch that movie and you're like, oh yeah, RoboCop. And Star Trek 4.
Oh.
That's the one with the whales.
Oh, good.
I don't know how much you know about that one, but...
He did a couple Planet of the Apes movies as well.
I'm trying to remember which one. Like Conquest and which ones were they again?
He did Beneath the Planet of the Apes and Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
The two worst ones, obviously.
Yeah.
Although Beneath is... I kind of want to do the Planet of the Apes movies on the podcast to get to that one, because that movie is weird. I don't know. I think I talked about it once on the podcast a long time ago. I don't know how much you remember, but it's a weird movie. He did music for 2 James Dean movies, East of Eden and Rebel Without a Cause, and the animated Lord of the Rings movie by Ralph Bakshi.
Oh. Huh.
And apparently this guy hated the score for the first movie, so that's a good sign already. Isn't it? What the hell, dude?
You love it when someone making a sequel just has just absolute contempt for the first movie.
Exorcist 2, the director of that hated the first movie, so, well, look how that turned out. Okay, so, initial thoughts. I'll let you start with this one. I'm curious to hear this.
Yeah, so, I don't remember how long ago we did the first movie.
We did the podcast on that 2 years ago, I think.
Okay, that sounds about right. And so that was obviously the first thing that I ever really saw out of this series, and then this was my first time ever watching this movie. I'd heard bits and pieces about it, I'd seen a couple clips of it, but I'd never watched it for myself. I just knew that a lot of people hated it, so I went in with honestly some pretty low...
Yeah. I can already imagine like some of the clips you might have seen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I went with
for
some
not
pretty
smoking.
low...
Is that one of them?
Yeah. So I went in with some pretty low expectations, and I came out pleasantly surprised. It's not a good movie. It does have quite a few issues. It feels a little incomplete, almost like they stopped on the second act of the movie. There's a couple plot lines that get set up early on that don't really go anywhere.
You could tell there were production issues, basically.
Yeah. But overall, I'd say it's a very fun movie. I just had a good time watching it. The pace, I thought, was really good. Like, the movie kept moving. It didn't feel like it really stalled all that much, which was definitely nice.
I don't know about that, but okay.
And, of course, Peter Weller as RoboCop is just fun to see, you know?
Yeah, obviously. He was... There's a reason, he was so memorable in that first movie, and it's like, what's even the point of making more of him if you don't bring him back at the least? Which is why RoboCop 3 is just so, like, what? Like, you couldn't even get him back for that. Anyway, but that would be a whole other thing. I don't really have any intentions to watch I watched a fan edit of the third one recently, and even with the fan edit, it was still not that great, but, That was another movie where it's like, yeah, there's some interesting ideas here, but man, it just doesn't work at all. And it was PG-13, so it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Sorry, getting sidetracked. But did you have anything else before?
I think that's my basic thoughts. It's a flawed movie, but I think it's fun.
Yeah. So when I first saw this, like you, I just heard terrible things about this. When I saw the first movie, it was actually a marathon. They were showing all 3 RoboCop movies that night, and when we were watching the second one, I think we shut it off after like the first 5 minutes.
Ooh.
After like the kid showed up, and my dad was just like, "Yeah, just shut this off. This is terrible." And then eventually I watched the rest of it sometime in high school, and I actually remembered enjoying it. Not as much as the first, but certainly more than RoboCop 3. I mean,
yeah.
RoboCop 3 is just... anyway, it's terrible. As I've got older, RoboCop 2, I've kind of gone back and forth on it. It's not a terrible sequel, but the script is a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like they had too many ideas for where the story should go and couldn't settle on one.
Yeah.
That said, RoboCop 2 does have a number of memorable scenes in it. There's a lot of parts that I find really, really funny. The action's good, the effects are decent. I think the cast does a decent job for the most part. It's the only film after the first movie that's watchable or even feels like the first movie. Like this, at least, like it has some of the dark humor and corporate satire, the first one.
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of like The Fly, too, where the reviews for it were just so abysmal that I just kind of went in with low expectations. But it's really not that bad if you just kind of go along with it.
Yeah.
I think really it's just a case of it should have been a lot better considering some of the names involved. I mean, because
you had Irvin Kershner directing, you had Frank Miller as a screenwriter, you had a pretty sizable chunk of the original cast coming back.
Granted, I'm not a huge fan of Frank Miller, but this was like Frank Miller at his peak. This is like Frank Miller, fresh off of like Dark Knight Returns. So it's like,
Yeah.
But maybe part of it is just, like, because I do enjoy the movie well enough. Like I think it has enough loony ideas that set it apart. And maybe part of it also is just that it's so much better than any of the other like RoboCop sequels or spin-offs, because a lot of that just falls into like embarrassingly bad. Like there was this cartoon, Alpha Commando. It's so bad I could barely watch it. They made RoboCop more like Inspector Gadget or something.
Now that's the crossover I've been waiting for.
And again, what was that picture you sent me? It was like it compared Inspector Gadget to RoboCop.
Oh yeah. Where it's like police officer gets injured and they rebuild him, and now he has to struggle with his sense of humanity or something like that.
But it's for kids because he makes funny noises or something. I don't remember. But yeah, overall, I would say I would agree with you. I think RoboCop 2, it's a fun movie. It's enjoyable to watch. It's not a terrible sequel. It's just a flawed one, I think.
Yeah.
And I'll get into some of the flaws when we talk about the actual movie. Like, I think one of the problems, I guess just getting to one of the problems, it lacks some of the human interest that the first movie had.
Yeah. Which, that is something I do want to talk about once we get to the cons.
And also the tone feels a bit, like, all over the place.
Yeah, there's times where it feels a bit too goofy.
I think the first movie was way better at balancing the tone of it.
Yeah.
But unlike some of the other ones, I feel like this one, at least, like, it still feels like a RoboCop movie, at least. Like, the fact you have most of the same cast back helps. Although it sucks, though, that some of the best characters in the first movie died, so you can't bring them back.
So you can't, yeah.
Okay, actually, I just thought of a great idea. If they turned Dick Jones and, like, Clarence Boddicker into RoboCops and have them be the villains again in this movie.
That would be really funny. I mean, that's like almost the plot of this one. They're taking a criminal and making him into one.
Yeah, kind of. And let me guess, you played the Rogue City video game to prepare for this?
So I didn't play it. I did want to bring that up real quick. So basically, there was a new RoboCop video game that came out 2 years ago called RoboCop Rogue City that got a lot of actually pretty good reviews.
Yeah, I've heard
it takes place after. Yeah,
I've heard it's really good, but I just don't know much about it.
Yeah,
it came out after we did the podcast, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, it did. So I don't know too much about the story. What I do know is that it takes place in between 2 and 3. So it just, from what I understand, it kind of resolves some of the stuff that was set up in 2 that never got fully explored, and it actually sets up the plot better for 3, which is interesting. But I've heard it's just a really fun game overall.
I feel like RoboCop would be like a perfect video game concept.
It really would be.
I mean, you already see, like, you see stuff from his point of view, so it's like only a matter of time before you get like a first-person shooter game out of RoboCop.
And they actually got Peter Weller back to play RoboCop in the game.
Nice. I mean, they got him back for that Mortal Kombat game, so, you know.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you were gonna mention about?
Yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned this in our first RoboCop episode, so I thought I'd bring it up now. There was another game that was released in 2003.
It wasn't the one.
It was widely. What?
Was it the one from that same? Made by the same people that did Superman 64? Is that the one?
Exactly. I was just about to mention that.
I think
it was very.
You did talk about that a little bit in the other podcast. Okay. I think.
It was similarly derided because it was a terrible game, but I just thought that'd be kind of fun to point out that they both did the horrible Superman game and the horrible the horrible RoboCop game, and they did a Blues Brothers 2000 video game.
Oh my god! Now, I haven't gotten to a few. There were a few other things I was going to mention. Leonard Maltin.
Yeah. Okay.
Take a wild guess to what Leonard Maltin thought of RoboCop 2.
I'm going to guess he gave it a bomb.
He gave it a little bit higher than that. 1.5.
Okay, so just a little bit above a bomb. Okay.
He said it was appallingly and unnecessarily mean, ugly sequel. Offensively violent and humorless. Humorless? Really? That's his criticism?
I don't feel like it was humorless. I feel like it might have been the opposite, actually.
Phil Tippett's stop-motion animation is the film's only asset. And for comparison, he gave the first movie 3 stars.
Yeah.
Out of 4. And the third one, he gave 2 stars. He liked RoboCop 3 more than RoboCop 2, which is...
That's a unique opinion.
That's absurd. And even though he liked the first movie, he thought its vision of the future was too bleak. Although that does seem to be a common criticism of the second movie, which is a lot of critics thought it was too dark and mean-spirited. Siskel and Ebert hated it.
Not too surprising.
They called it one of the worst movies of the year. Wow.
No, they really hated it.
Ebert was especially offended by the character of Hobb, because apparently he was worried kids would see this movie and imitate him. I'm like, it's an R-rated movie. I mean, and not a kid's movie.
Yeah, it's like kids shouldn't be watching it, yeah.
Because I know, yeah, there's like the RoboCop cartoons and stuff, but the actual RoboCop, like the first RoboCop movie,
it's just obscenely violent. Like, you shouldn't be showing that to kids.
It was a movie that was so violent, they had to cut stuff out of it to avoid an X rating. Yeah. For violence. That usually happened for, like, nudity, not for violence. Okay, so the story of this one, there's a little too much going on, actually. Detroit is on the verge of bankruptcy, which did actually happen in 2013, funnily enough.
Yeah.
This movie's kind of prescient. So OCP decides to make an evil version of RoboCop. RoboCop gets reprogrammed with some new directives. Wacky hijinks ensue. There's a drug cult called Nuke in this. Oh, there's also a kid that kills people. That's really important to point out. Basically, this movie is a bit scatterbrained.
I think that's a good word for it. Scatterbrained.
Scatterbrained.
It's got a lot of ideas and it doesn't know how to express them.
Oh, I can relate to that. Okay, so the pros. The fake ads are pretty funny in this.
Yeah. They feel very much in line with a lot of the ads from the first movie.
I feel like they're even more over the top in this one, because even in the first one, I guess the Nukem one, but like most of the ads in that, they felt more restrained than this, because here you got Magnavolt. Is this, like, it's this thing you put in your car seat so that when someone tries to, like, steal your car,
hijack it?
When someone tries to carjack you, they get electrocuted to death. And it won't even run out your battery. Oh, and John Glover is the one advertising the...
Yeah.
He's the one advertising car seats that electrocute people. It's like, wow. And what was it that didn't say, like, Magnavolt lethal response or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Magnavolt lethal response or something like that. Sunblock 5000.
Oh, that one was funny because, like, it was just like blue paint that they were rubbing on, but then
blue and green paint. It looks like blue and green paint and it's a lot of vagina. In the commercial for Austin Powers. And they mentioned
you know what else this means?
They mentioned that the ozone layer melted.
Yep. That's exactly what I was about to say.
There's another movie set in the future that we've done where the ozone layer melted.
So far, that's Lawnmower Man 2, Highlander 2, the live-action Mario movie. Was the ozone gone in the Max Headroom movie? I don't remember.
I don't remember. I forgot that. I was mainly just thinking of Highlander 2, honestly. I forgot that it happened in those other ones, honestly. Well, to be fair, in the Super Mario Brothers movie, they also merged it with the dinosaur dimensions. So.
Yeah.
Dino Hatton. And also the Surgeon General's warning at the end. Oh my god. Where it says... Because usually there's like a product warning where it's like, you know, it could cause this. It says, no. It says frequent use will cause skin cancer. Not might cause skin cancer, will cause skin cancer. Oh my god, it's ridiculous. And there was another one that made me laugh too. The OCP Communications ad.
I was so confused watching that.
Where he's like, oh, it took 2 days to download files from Cleveland or something like that.
By then I lost the account.
He like shoots himself, and for some reason it zooms in on a picture of like, I think his kid or something.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the hell? Like, so basically every product in the RoboCop universe can kill you.
Yeah.
Is the message that I'm getting. It's just, you know. And going off of that, I will say a lot of the corporate satire I think is still on point in this, because it's just basically corporations are terrible. Is what we're getting from this. And in this one, it's just
like they have one scene that's like a board meeting where they're trying to come up with new PR strategies for them. It all feels. It's ridiculous, but it also feels accurate to stuff that's still happening today, which is just...
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you could see, like, Elon Musk, like, working for these guys or something. It's just...
Yeah.
And like, the Ed 209's, like, always malfunctioning and shit, so who knows? Maybe they... Maybe that's where they were getting some of this from. Because you briefly see the Ed 209 at the beginning. They like deployed it to like for some reason, even though the thing it can't even go down the fucking stairs. It's like,
yeah,
and it gets to like it even at some points kind of feels like they're satirizing the fact the movie is a sequel, because they literally just call the next robot RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
And I guess going off of the corporate stuff, like Johnson got a promotion. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because I guess, I mean, Dick Jones and Bob Morton, they're both dead, so I guess he was next in line.
Yeah.
And we get more Dan O'Herlihy, which is nice. Although, in this one, they just make him so cartoonishly evil.
Where he's like forcing the mayor to like sell the city of Detroit to the company. He immediately backstabs his subordinates whenever they cause trouble for him.
That scene with the mayor is so funny. Like, because the guy playing the mayor, his acting is just, it's so over the top. Like, he's like, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. I'm okay. I'm calm. It's like, okay, what?
And then you just have Dan O'Herlihy just like sitting in the corner smiling the whole time. It just makes for a great contrast.
And like the failed prototypes for RoboCop 2. Those are...
Okay, that's one of the scenes that I've seen before. That one always gets a laugh out of me.
Especially the screaming skeleton guy. Like,
that second one.
What the hell was that? Like, he just... Because it's the guy in a robot suit, and then he just takes the helmet off, and it's just the skeleton. He screams and dies.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that does want to know what happened there, but another part of me that's like, maybe it's better that I don't know what happened, because that would be a bit concerning.
Well, what if that's who RoboCop had to go against? That prototype.
Oh my god, that'd be ridiculous.
It'd be a very short movie.
I feel like that's been used as a GIF a bunch.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna see if it's like on. It might be on here. Yeah, it's like one of the first things you see on here. There it is. But yeah, that part kills me. And there's before that, you have like a robot like shoots a couple people, then shoots himself or something. It's like, okay.
Like, immediately.
And then after all this, the old man just does a face palm. So, yes. Which that should be a gif as well, if it isn't though. We're kind of going all over the place with this one, but
yeah.
Another thing about the old man, he has this weird hot tub room.
It almost looks like a little, like, almost like a Zen garden or something.
Yeah, it looks like a model mountain or something in this room that looks like a pagoda. And he has samurai armor hanging on the wall. Like, what is going on here? Like, and then instead of, I guess we're kind of talking about all the OCP stuff. Instead of Dick Jones, we have Dr. Fax, who is this Australian psychologist.
Who's just absolutely... I'd almost call her like the main villain of the movie, almost.
And for some reason, they give her free reign to just do whatever, even though she has like no qualifications at all, and all of her decisions are horrible. Like, she literally uses like, she gets the brain of Abby Normal at one. Abby Normal. Sorry. She decides to use the brain of a notorious criminal for the next RoboCop, because that's a great idea. Not just
a notorious criminal, he's a like drug kingpin and also a cult leader.
Yeah, and she kills him herself too, which is insane.
Yeah, it's like, that's one of those parts of this movie that just gets really dark, because you see Kane, this like, drug dealer cult leader guy, who is built up to be like the main villain, looking genuinely like terrified and scared during this scene. It's just so like kind of off-putting and weird and just dark.
Yeah, just the whole movie is just... And then, of course, when everything goes wrong, they just blame it all on Dr. Fax, which, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, fair.
Fair enough. But I guess, should we talk about... Since we mentioned Kane, let's talk about Kane a bit. Where do I have that?
Yeah.
Tom Noonan, he plays Kane, and I think he's a pretty good villain.
Yeah.
Not as good as Clarence Boddicker or Dick Jones, but I think he's good. He has some moments where he's genuinely creepy, especially towards like the beginning.
Yeah.
You could tell they were trying to make him like Charles Manson, because he's like this sort of weird kind of hippie dude, but with a creepy cult.
Yeah.
Revolves around drugs, and he's got like a messiah complex. Yeah, he's quite the character, that's for sure.
Yeah. He has like that quote towards the beginning of the movie where, as he's like getting like arrested, what does he say exactly? Hold on, I have it written down. Where he goes, Jesus had days like this, hounded and attacked like a criminal, but like him, I don't blame you. They program you, and you do it.
I feel like if they remade this movie, they would cast Jared Leto as Kane, because that feels like a part that Jared Leto would play, actually. Hell, why haven't they... Just make like a Charles Manson movie, but with Jared Leto. I mean, the guy already has experience running a cult, might as well. So.
Yeah.
There's this one scene, the one scene that really stands out with Kane for me. It's this scene where he tortures this corrupt cop and kills him, and he forces Hobb to watch.
It's a very creepy scene.
And then his girlfriend is just like, she's like saying, you said you were just going to scare him. And Kane says, doesn't he look scared? It's like, geez.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, Jared Leto would be like perfect casting for this guy.
It would be. I mean, just based off of his performance as Neander Wallace in Blade Runner 2049.
Exactly.
Perfect for this part. Yeah, the villains in this are just so horrible. Like there's this like kid that one thing I do like about this movie, it reveals a very important fact of life, which is that kids are terrible because the kids in this movie, like all of the kids in this movie are just horrible.
Yeah. Especially because once Kane's taken out, Hobb is the one that's put in charge of the gang. It's like, why is this kid running it?
And even beyond him, though, like, just you got kids that are drug dealers, murderers, partying and doing drugs on school nights, committing robberies, being rude to RoboCop. I just love how horrible just all the kids in this movie are. It's just so funny. Just Detroit has deteriorated so much that even the kids are just... but especially Hobb.
Pure evil.
Hobb is like... wow. For some reason, this, like, 12 or 13-year-old kid is, like, second in command of the nuke cult.
Yeah. Basically, he's in charge of the drug distribution.
He's, like, mowing people down with, like, machine guns. He's dealing drugs. Then he ends up taking over after Kane dies, and, like... apparently the mayor of Detroit gets manipulated by a drug-addicted 12-year-old crime boss. I mean... I think that's part of why I enjoy this movie. What other movie has shit like that in it? I mean, it's like, what is this weird world that this movie exists in? And the kid that plays him, like... The actor that played him, I think did a pretty good job, too. Like, because... Usually child actors, aren't that impressive. But, like, here, it's like... He's like...
It's weird to say that a 12-year-old felt like a very convincing drug kingpin.
I know, yeah. It makes you wonder, like, what... Like, Clarence Boddicker, how he would react with this kid, because, damn, I mean... I mean, he that is sort of the role he fulfills in this, where, like, the Clarence Boddicker role, where he's just this hateable bastard. You just really want this kid to die, like... Yeah. He's so evil. The scene where he does die, though, is kind of weird, like, because...
Yeah.
Where was that? Do I have that written down? Because, I mean, it's well acted, but, like, I don't know what tone they were going for. Like, is it supposed to be sad?
And so that was one of my complaints about it, is because it felt like it was supposed to be a very, like, heavy and serious scene. You have Kane showing back up as, the new RoboCop, gunning down everyone there, including, killing a child. But the music is, like, really kind of, like, bubbly and, like, action-y during this scene, when, like, it feels completely mismatched, and it kind of throws off the tone of the scene.
The music is kind of weird in this, but maybe I'll talk about that later, but... I think it's a well shot and well acted scene, because I like the...
Yeah.
I mean, I like the kid dies, like, wearing a suit on top of a pile of money, so it's just, like, again, more of the corporate satire there.
Yeah.
And Peter Weller's acting in that scene is really good, but it was just...
Yeah.
I don't know if they were trying to make you feel sympathy for him, because, I mean, yeah, he is a kid, but also he just killed, like, I don't know how many people a few scenes ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we went this long. I mean, we might as well mention RoboCop in this movie. Peter Weller came back for this movie, and that's something the third movie couldn't even manage, so... Even though, yeah, the movie, it has problems, but it's cool seeing him back as the famous character.
Yeah.
And he's still pretty good in the movie. I think the suit, like, they changed the look of the suit in this one. Because the armor's blue. And they redesigned it, because the original suit, Peter Weller... It was really uncomfortable for him, so they're like, well, let's make a suit that's like easier to wear and walk in, and I think it's a pretty good suit. And he still feels like RoboCop in this. So
yeah, I'd have to see like a side-by-side comparison, but I really like the look of the suit in this one.
In the original suit, it's gray instead of blue.
Okay. I think I kind of prefer the blue.
It does make sense for a cop to be wearing blue, I guess. So yeah, there is that. I like his introduction, too.
Yeah.
Where there's like a bunch of criminals, and then he shows up. They think the police are on strike, so they're really surprised that RoboCop is there. And then that shot of his leg coming out of the car, that's a really good shot.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Take it over, creep." And the whole action scene at the beginning, I really like the action scene in the nuke lab. That's pretty good. Especially when there's this bad guy holding a baby hostage with a machine gun. It's just like, oh my goodness. Apparently Detroit has deteriorated so much that we have a part where a guy holds a machine gun up to a baby. It's like, jeez. He like kills him by bouncing the... RoboCop bounces the bullet like off of the door. He does like the logistics with his like computer, and it's like, okay, I don't know if that's how it would play out, but whatever. And Peter Weller's line delivery, that's another thing that I loved about Peter Weller in the first movie, was like his like deadpan...
The line delivery is like golden.
His deadpan line delivery is like... The guy's like shouting at him, and he's just going, "No." And... "We can't have that." It's just like...
So there is a one of the plot points to this movie is that they try and make RoboCop like PR friendly at one point.
Yes, let's talk about that. Oh my god!
It leads to so many goofy just scenes, but the line delivery is just so. So funny.
What happened was RoboCop got dismantled by the bad guys. So. And just left for OCP and the cops to find. So OCP has to put him back together. But then they try programming a bunch of new directives into him. They're basically like, they're trying to make him nicer, make him a role model for the kids. Which I guess was them commenting on people who thought the first movie was too violent or something.
Yeah.
And you could kind of see it as a precursor to them making like RoboCop PG-13 or the kids shows. And the scenes of RoboCop like just acting out of character, it's just really funny, and I love how Lewis notices almost immediately.
Yeah, well, like all the cops do, they're like, hang on, something's not right here.
I think one of the scientists does, but yeah, because he keeps saying and doing weird shit, and a lot of my favorite lines are from this part, like when Lewis like kills a guy.
He starts reading the Miranda rights to it.
"You're reading Miranda to a corpse." I'm having trouble. Oh, that part. Or when he's like, there's these kids robbing Oh, it's like this Little League team robbing a store or something. RoboCop just goes in, he starts lecturing the kids, and they just run away.
Bad language makes for bad feelings.
Oh my god. Like later in the car when he's with Lewis.
Yeah.
Isn't the moon wonderful today? It's still daytime. It's the thought that counts.
We're taking you back to the station.
And then that other part where he's interacting with some kids that are messing with a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
One of them says, "Go fuck a refrigerator, peckerneck." With lines like that, how did this not win an Oscar for Best Screenplay? I mean,
exactly.
And then one we mentioned earlier, there's this guy smoking a cigarette, and RoboCop shoots at him. He's like shooting around him, and the guy's like so scared, and the cigarette falls out of his mouth. And he says, "Thank you for not smoking." And I think they did actually run that as like a anti-smoking
that makes
ad.
Sense. It feels like a PSA.
They might have done that. But that was always one of the scenes I remembered from that. A lot of the more memorable parts were just the parts of the RoboCop just not acting like RoboCop usually does.
Yeah.
And then at one point they show like some of the new directives. One of them, I didn't know this until reading like trivia. One of them says avoid Orion meetings. Which Orion was the production company that made the RoboCop movies.
That's pretty good.
I thought that was funny. And then there's another RoboCop in this movie, Robo Kane, as some people called him. The way they make him is so violent, though. Like, because Dr. Fax kills Kane herself by like unplugging his life support. And then they remove Kane's brain. I forgot how graphic that part was.
Yeah. I like they kind of show it like in the jar afterwards.
They show the cut off like top of the head too. It's like, oh my god. And then they put the brain in a tank, and it has these weird googly eyes for some reason. Like,
yeah.
It looks kind of silly. And then they basically turn Kane into a robot. They turn him into this weird computer face that's addicted to drugs and
who can't speak.
You know, that's something I don't see often, a drug-addicted cyborg.
Yeah, that's true.
In all seriousness, though, I do actually like that detail, because that does make it does make his robot version more human, you know, kind of like Murphy.
Yeah.
And the computer face looks like something from Lawnmower Man.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I hate how many connections this has to Lawnmower Man.
Is this another movie with magic computers or something? So not quite to that extent, obviously.
Yeah.
And the design of Robo Kane is interesting because it's the stop motion in this is really good. We should point out, like, because this was one of the last. Yeah. It's one of the last movies that used stop motion. Like one of the last big studio movies, and I think it looks pretty good.
It looks really smooth.
It was, and the design of Robo Kane, it's like black armor. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but he's got like these claw hands.
Yeah.
He like snaps his girlfriend's neck at one point, which is like, geez, dude.
Yeah.
I know he's a psycho, but we didn't think he was that much of a psycho. He has Elvis's body for some reason. What was up with that? Like, why? This.
Yeah.
There's like. They have Elvis's dead body in a display case, and I don't know what was up with that. And they don't really. It's just kind of shown briefly, but they don't do much with it. But anyway, back to what I was saying. The whole rope. There's that big fight at the end with RoboCane, which is pretty impressive from a special effects standpoint.
Yeah.
They go all over the place, like, in that fight. They're just like... Because at one point they're on a stage, then they're going, like, climbing up. Aren't they on, like, an elevator at one point? Or, like, they climb up a building. At one point they're, like, hanging over the edge of a building.
Yeah, like they leave the building at one point.
Then they're on the street fighting. It's ridiculous. I also like before they start fighting, I like when RoboCop shows up and he says, "Kane, let's step outside."
Yeah,
because it kind of reminds me of Superman 2.
Yeah, a little bit.
When Superman says, "General, would you care to step outside?" There's a great line delivery from Dan O'Hurley in that scene, too, where he says, "Behave yourselves!" I feel like that's one of those lines I sometimes forget is from this movie, because I feel like it feels like something I heard in something else, but I always forget it's from this movie in particular. Yeah, that whole fight at the end is just crazy. RoboCop, his helmet gets scarred. He kills Kane by ripping his brain out and smashing it.
Which really feels like a Mortal Kombat move.
Does he do? He should do that in Mortal Kombat if he doesn't, because that'd be great. Like Kane's like computer face goes crazy, which again, that scene really felt like Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, specifically like the first one. Well, I like how the beginning of the movie starts off with a guy mugging an old woman, who then himself gets mugged.
By prostitutes, right?
Yeah, who then themselves get mugged by, like, other gang members.
It's ridiculous, yeah.
To be fair, that is kind of what Detroit feels like.
Yeah. You know, maybe that's part of why this movie is more enjoyable now, is just because this almost just feels like a documentary at this point, because, like, you know? Like...
I like to imagine the rest of the country in these movies is completely fine. It's just Detroit that's like this.
I think you said that when we were doing the first one, but yeah, that is an amusing thought. Not for them, obviously, but, you know. Yeah. And I was also thinking about these movies. I realized it's kind of refreshing about the RoboCop movies. There's no forced romance in this. Or any of them, really.
Yeah.
Like, Murphy and Lewis, they just work together platonically. And there isn't, like, some... Granted, he has a wife, technically, so, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Oh, and we haven't mentioned that yet. There's a... It's not, like, a huge part of the plot. Well, okay, I guess towards the beginning, but, like... You have these scenes of Murphy watching his son and his wife, and then talking to her later. Like, I think those scenes were good. I just wish there had been more stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was holding back on talking about this, because I feel like that gets more into cons.
Okay. But I do really like that scene with him and his wife, though.
It is another good example of him wrestling with his humanity versus how much, you know, his machine on property sort of outlook is forced upon him. But It is a great scene. I just wish there was more of it, like you said.
Because basically OCP, they want him to, like, stop following her and accept that he can't go back to his regular life with her, and he's just a machine. Although it's shown throughout the movie that he's still, he is still human, in there, but it's just not explored as much as it should be. But and he tells his wife that he doesn't recognize her, even though you can tell he doesn't want to. But I think the acting in that scene is really good between Peter Weller and I don't know the actress that played his wife, but she did a good job as well in that scene. And it is really sad,
Yeah.
Because that was for a while, that was one of my problems with this movie, was I felt like the human elements weren't quite there, but
it's just kind of gone.
At the very least, they do acknowledge it in this. They didn't completely ignore it, but again, you just wish there was more of it. But we can talk about that more later. That action scene with RoboCop on the motorcycle, that was pretty good. There's some decent action scenes in this, I think.
Yeah.
Like that part where RoboCop, like, his motorcycle crashes into Kane's truck, and I'm just thinking, Kane did not stand a chance there.
No, not at all.
It's RoboCop on a motorcycle coming at you.
I'd be afraid to commit crime in Detroit if a RoboCop was rolling around. It's like, no.
I'd be afraid to be a cop in Detroit, too. Or really I'd just be afraid to be in Detroit. I mean...
I am afraid to be in Detroit.
One thing I completely forgot about, and I don't know why it's in this movie, there's this guy performing Born to be Wild on the violin.
Doing weird poses.
These weird poses. He's doing it upside down. He's doing it like, I don't even know. But apparently it's to raise money on TV for Detroit. It's okay. There's just a lot of weird shit in this movie that I forgot about.
Yeah.
And to be fair, okay, if he's doing that for real, that is really impressive. Like,
yeah, it would be.
You gotta have really good legs to do those stunts. I like the ending where, like, OCP's, like, they're, like, watching all the carnage going on. The old man tells Johnson to get their best spin team.
Yeah, he's, like, very calmly, like, get our best spin team on this.
And I like that they only care about the chaos during the climax because it looks bad for OCP.
Yeah, it's bad for publicity.
So they just blame it on Dr. Fax. There was a line that Johnson said. I think it was Johnson. Oh my god, it killed me. Where they're talking, one of the OCP guys says there's a lot of dead and wounded, and Johnson says they won't have any trouble from the dead ones.
And doesn't he respond with, yeah, but they all have families?
Yeah, they always have relatives. Yeah, just I think I was just in the mood for something with just an extremely dark, weird sense of humor. So
yeah.
And it just feels really a lot of it still feels really relevant today, too, which maybe that's also part. It's kind of scary how relevant some of this is.
Yeah.
And, I'll give the movie this. It wasn't just a rehash of the first movie.
Yeah, no, it felt like an actual continuation.
It did try some things that were different, maybe too many things, but hey,
yeah,
give some credit for it. And RoboCop's last line is, "We're only human." So Murphy is still in there somewhere, so at least they didn't totally ignore that. But yeah, we can start getting into cons unless you had anything else.
Yeah. I think we're about ready to move on.
We see a lot of RoboCop in this, but not a lot of Murphy, which is disappointing. And that's always been one of my biggest issues with the movie. I could forgive a lot of the cons with the movie, but just the human aspect is a bit lacking. Because part of what made the first movie so interesting was you saw this guy slowly regaining his humanity again, and then this movie
and like
doesn't
struggling
really...
with that, and it's just absent in this one.
There's a few scenes with it, but not much, and it's mostly in the first like 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And there was a mini series. I mentioned it before we were recording. Prime Directives. The clip with the RoboCop saying, "Now I got your fat black ass," and then hitting the guy with a hammer. I can't believe that's a real line. Wow. And that RoboCop said it. It was a really bad miniseries, but one interesting plot point was that Murphy's son ends up working for OCP. And so you get scenes of like RoboCop, meeting his son again. I thought, okay, that could be interesting if done right. Because really, that's one thing this movie was missing, was there needed to be a little more of an emotional core to the movie. Because you have the dark humor and the satire and the action, but you just needed a little more humanity in there, and I think that's one of the things a lot of people criticize this movie for. And we've said this several times. This is a great example of too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes.
I don't think any of the writers of this were on the same page during the making of this.
No, because there's just a lot of plots that are going on. Because like we mentioned, it sets up stuff with Murphy and his wife that never gets resolved. There's this whole drug dealing cult that gets brought up and is kind of just dismantled halfway through the movie. A cult leader is turned into another RoboCop. There's the whole like weird 20-minute long section where RoboCop is put into like PR mode and he's peaceful. And then it just ends when he purposefully electrocutes himself. It's strange. Just a lot going on and none of it really mixing.
It kind of just, it doesn't feel like anybody was in agreement to what like the plot of this movie should be. Although I do find it funny though that a movie about executive meddling was a victim of executive meddling. I can't decide if there's too much plot to this or not much plot to this, because it's just weird. It feels like they just had a bunch of ideas for a movie, but they had no idea how to string it together cohesively.
Yeah.
Because on their own, the scenes are entertaining and stuff, but it's just like, it kind of feels like each scene is a new subplot. It's weird.
Yeah.
I do wish there was more of Lewis in this one.
Yeah.
Granted, she's not like the most important character in the first movie, but she got more to do in that, and it's just kind of like, you want a little more of her in this. I'm kind of surprised that they never had her die and get turned into another RoboCop in one of these.
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking that would almost make more sense as a RoboCop sequel. And maybe like she doesn't adapt as well as Murphy does, and she ends up going rogue and they have to stop her.
That almost turn into like Bride of Frankenstein or something.
Yeah.
And you're probably never gonna watch RoboCop 3 anyway, but spoilers, she does actually die in that movie.
Okay.
In like the first 20 minutes, I think. And like, I think the only reason they did that, though, was just because Nancy Allen really did not want to be in the movie, so she's like, I'll come back, but you have to kill me off. So I guess same as Harrison Ford in Force Awakens.
Yeah, yeah.
And another weird thing, so they made the old man this, like, cartoon villain in this movie, which okay, he wasn't exactly a morally upstanding character in the first movie, but he had some moments of benevolence, if I remember correctly.
Like when he recognized like what Dick was doing in the first movie, he did take action against him pretty quick.
I guess he just wants to get rid of people to make the company look bad, but I mean, you'd have to get rid of a lot more people than that. But... And he seems a lot friendlier than like them. Maybe it's just in comparison to the other people at OCP, he just seems friendlier than they do.
Yeah.
But here it's just I think the nuance was just lost here with his character. He just feels like just this corrupt businessman. And it's like, okay. And speaking of the lack of nuance, OCP just blatantly turns into Nazis at the end for no reason.
Yeah.
Look, okay. We know they're evil, but like it's just so heavy-handed the way they did it. It just comes out of nowhere. Where you got like the OCP flag, looks like a Nazi flag, and they're wearing Nazi uniforms. It's like, what? Okay. It felt kind of lazy at that point. It's just like, look, we know they're the bad guys.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like low-hanging fruit. It's like, all right, we already had the idea. You didn't need to go that far.
They don't do much with that anyways, but still, it felt kind of, I mean, it's not like this movie is Starship Troopers. I mean,
Yeah.
And another thing is it felt like they were building up Delta City in these movies, but they never really do much with it.
No, it still kind of just feels like run-down Detroit.
Then again, I think they... did they say they were going to build it once like all the crime was eliminated? I guess it wasn't.
I think so, yes. They're still waiting for everything to finish.
It would be... That was another... I might have read this somewhere, but that was another idea I think I heard for a RoboCop sequel. Is like, they make Delta City, but then they realize RoboCop, because there's no crime, does RoboCop have a purpose anymore? So there's an idea maybe you could run with, but... And speaking of which, evil RoboCop, that's another promising concept, but they don't really do that much with it.
No, because he also just doesn't have a personality. Like, he can't talk inside RoboCop
that's another
2.
thing.
It's...
The only hints of his personality are just he's drug addicted, but like before that, Kane had this really cool personality where he's this like Charles Manson type character, but then he's just... Yeah, he just becomes evil robot
lobotomized, essentially, yeah.
He kind of was lobotomized. I mean, they took his brain out. But...
Yeah.
And really, all he's there to... I guess he kills his former cohorts, and then he has that big fight at the end of the movie. And that's really all they do with the... There's so many things you could do with an evil version of RoboCop. I mean...
Yeah. And it's really just used for, like, one fight at the very end of the movie.
Like you said earlier, one thing they could go as, maybe you could explore how he doesn't adapt as well to his new life as RoboCop did. The score for this, you don't have Basil Polidoris, and I mean, the score for this it's okay, but
it feels a bit mismatched at points.
I think a great score could have made this a lot better. I kind of noticed during the part with Murphy and his wife, the score didn't fit the scene. It felt a little too, like, cartoony. I don't know how exactly to describe it, but I felt like it just didn't fit the scene. And there were a few other parts. I feel it should have had like I think the score just wasn't intense enough. Maybe that's part of it. And it's just this. It's a really dark movie too, so it's like, you know. And speaking of which, the tone is weird to this movie because
yeah, it is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, part of what made the first movie work was the tone, and the violence in the first movie. It was so over the top that it became funny at points. But here it kind of just feels like there's dark humor in it, but there's a lot of violent scenes in it that it just feels like you know, they're not playing it for laughs. It just feels like kind of mean-spirited and jarring at point. It's because there's parts of it where it feels sort of like goofy and caricaturish, but then you'll have like Kane torturing this like corrupt cop at one point.
It's so dissonant
all over the place. Yeah, this movie's just, that's really the best way to describe this movie. Is it's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, when we were talking about initial thoughts, you said you thought the pacing was fine. I actually think the pacing in, like, the second half of the movie is weird for me. I think part of it is just RoboCop's missing for a good chunk of the second half.
That is a good point.
So I don't really know what's up with that, but also it's just, I don't know. It felt like they just ran out of story like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And that is what
for me.
And that is something Peter Weller criticized about the movie. Actually, is he felt like there wasn't really a third act. It just ends with a big robot fight, and then the movie's over. There needed to be like more of like an emotional climax or something. So yeah, it's just kind of weird. And it's a 2-hour movie too. Like the first movie is like an hour 43. It clips by pretty quick. This one, it felt like there were a few parts where it sagged a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Again, mainly in the second half, but you know, sorry, did you have any thoughts on that? I was kind of...
So, with the pacing, I thought it went fairly quick, which I appreciated, because it was longer at 2 hours, but at least for me, it didn't feel like 2 hours. I was having enough fun watching the movie that, like...
Yeah, that's fair.
With a couple parts where it did slow down, it never felt like it just ground to a halt.
Yeah, but I guess it was just kind of a case of, like... Maybe it was also just because it felt like too much was happening, so it was a bit overwhelming when you know, try to break it down into the elements. But like, it wasn't as bad as, say, the pacing in like I'm trying to think of like what was like a movie we did on the podcast that had just like terrible pacing. I'm trying to remember, like
Hollow Man
2. Or just Hollow Man, I guess. Yeah, there was stuff happening, but it wasn't fully cohesive. So.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't necessarily the pacing; it was just the structure of it was weird.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe that was it. I don't know. But even then, I feel like, for being a 2-hour movie, I just feel like maybe it didn't need to be quite that long, but anyway.
Yeah.
And some of the characters felt underdeveloped to me. Or maybe it was just they just didn't have quite the same personality. Because that was one thing I mentioned about the first RoboCop, is that even like minor characters in that had a lot of personality to them, whereas here, like, especially with the villains, like, you know, the villains, like, were fine, but I mean, you compare it to the ones in the first RoboCop.
Yeah, it's like almost like difficult to compare just because they feel so lifeless.
Dr. Fax is no Dick Jones or Bob Morton. Hobb is no Clarence Boddicker. I think of the villains, Kane, like they had a really good idea there, but just not lived up to its full potential.
Not a great execution.
You know, but his acting was really good though. Tom Noonan, I think, did a good job acting. Yeah. Like, I don't think it was like the acting that was necessarily the problem, but just they didn't have as much to work with as the.
Yeah.
I just kind of wish there was maybe a little bit more, but. I think. Did you have anything else to add, or are you done with?
I think that's kind of it. I think we covered like my biggest gripes were definitely the story felt a little.
Oh yeah. And the stuff with not enough human elements. That was the main one, I think. Yeah, which I mentioned earlier. Yeah. Because again, that scene with him and his wife, it's really good, but you just wish maybe there's a little bit more of it, or it was maybe. I think RoboCop just needed more motivation to go after these people. Because in the first movie, he has the motivation because they're the gang. They're the ones that like killed him. So there's revenge as a motivator. And then also you have all the stuff with him like grappling with, you know, his humanity. Whereas here it's just he has to stop evil robot man. Because evil robot man bad.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know, maybe maybe his wife and kids got killed and they were turned into robots. I don't know. Or the idea I mentioned earlier, Lewis gets turned into a RoboCop and they make her evil, you know, because then, okay, there's some personal history there, you know. I don't know if it would have been good, but, you know, there'd be a little something there, maybe.
A little something more, yeah. More personal.
I know some people, like, they said, like, maybe Hobb should have been Murphy's son or something. Which I don't know if I would have gone there. That's a little dark, even for this movie, but...
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, maybe just have his
just
wife,
something a little bit
son,
more.
there just need to be a little bit more, because I think, as it stands, it's an entertaining movie, but it needed a little bit more to push it over into like great territory. Which the first RoboCop movie I think is a great movie. This is it's enjoyable, but could be better, you know. But yeah, I guess that's getting overall thoughts.
Yeah.
If you can't tell, yeah, there's some mixed thoughts here. The script is a bit of a mess, but I have watched it more than a few times, so there's that. It's not as good as the first. That's a given. But I think it's enjoyable. You get more of Peter Weller as RoboCop. And there are some genuinely funny parts. Like, I cracked up a lot during this movie. I kind of forgot.
Yeah.
How funny parts of this movie were, especially with RoboCop being, like, sanitized.
The PR machine. Yeah.
Of the Irvin Kershner movies we've done, obviously Empire Strikes Back is much better than this. Because, I mean...
Yeah. But, like, I'd put this above Never Say Never.
But yeah, I would say it's better than Never Say Never Again. It's more enjoyable, at least. Never Say Never Again, like, it was fine, but it was just kind of, like you said, it's just Thunderball, but not as good, basically.
Yeah.
The weird 80s version of Thunderball. This movie, come to think of it, it kind of feels like Batman Returns a bit for me, where it's a little more cynical than the first one, and there's maybe a bit too much going on in it, but it is enjoyable when you like break it down into chunks.
Yeah.
But when you actually sit and think about it critically, you start realizing there's more than a few.
There's
problems.
Quite a few issues.
There's more than a few problems. The question has to be asked, though. Would you buy this movie for $1?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd buy that for $1.
I think I would, yeah. I'd buy that for $1. Of the sequels we watched recently, I mean, this is
is definitely, like, the best one.
Yeah, I mean, its only competition is The Fly 2, which is sad.
Yeah.
To be fair, The Fly 2, it was fine, you know. It was perfectly watchable for what it was. Did you have any overall thoughts to add?
Yeah. So for my overall thoughts,
you would buy it for $1.
Is this as good? Yeah, I'd buy that for $1. Is this as good as the original? No, obviously not. But it is just a fun movie to watch. It has its fair share of problems, specifically kind of with the story and the mishmash of ideas that don't go together, and the music's not great. But the performances are all fun. Set designs, effects, those are all fun.
Oh yeah, the set design was pretty good. We forgot to mention that,
yeah.
Like all the OCP buildings, so yeah.
As long as you're not going into it thinking that you're going to be watching some like great masterpiece, you can have a good time with this movie.
Yeah. It's kind of just this weird, sort of trashy movie that kind of becomes charming in a weird way. I think it's just because they just went so far out on a limb with some of the ideas in this that I'm like, you know, I kind of have to respect that in a way.
Yeah.
And again, just the weird humor and stuff. Sorry, you can keep going. I kind of interrupted a bit.
Yeah, that's basically my thoughts on it.
I mean, it is another RoboCop movie. It's got some of the elements that made the first movie work. Not all of them, but some of them. You know.
Yeah.
There's more than you could say for RoboCop 3 or most of the other stuff from the franchise. I have no idea what our next podcast is, but I hope it's not another sequel. I've had enough sequels for a while.
My executive decision is we're watching Live Wire from 1992 next.
Is that the movie with Pierce Brosnan?
Yes.
I think I might have seen part of this, and I remember jack shit about it. And Jack left town. Maybe we'll make it a double feature with Taffin? I don't know about that.
But yeah, we'll figure out what's happening at some point. But until we figure this all out, roll the Andy Griffith.
Stay out of trouble.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.